Hello people and welcome to the Counterfactual Stories YouTube channel. Today we have one more anecdote or funny story from the chess. But before we start, don't forget to press subscribe button. Let's start. When I tried to run him over, employing the Volga Gambit, I couldn't see the slightest reaction in his face. He was a real Russian chess bear, and he stood there like a Russian wall in which every attack seemed to rebound. They'd called him Kazoo, and he has been 8-time state champion, but I don't tell you in which country, that remains my little secret, okay? I visited him sometimes on the weekends to play some test games. Boy, he was a fighter, I tell you. To play him was like a fight for your life. I always had the feeling that his life depends on every move. He was very serious about every game, and won more games than I did as he was stronger, but it was very interesting and a great adventure for me to play him. He was already 60 years old, but he still played the most devious, poisonous and strong chess that I knew at this time. But I really became fearful when he opened a little box, took some pills out and swallowed them, usually after an hour of playing, right in the middle of the game. I thought, don't make a strong move now or he gets a heart attack and drops dead off his chair. I know this sounds funny, but it wasn't funny at all. In fact, I felt really sad. Very sad in those games. This happened quite often that he swallowed those pills. When we were right in the middle of incredible fights, but after a while I got used to it. When I think about those times almost 20 years ago, I still feel deep respect for this man. I know that I will never forget him, and he must be dead by now. I think in every man's life there is some people you just don't forget, and he was one of them I won't forget. He was a real fighter and didn't want to lose at all. When you played him, you could really feel his intense fighting spirit. I never felt this before. I knew he would never ever give up chess, no matter what happens. Chess was part of his life, and without chess he would have nothing, and his life would be empty and senseless. He lived on his own in his old house and had no wife, no kids. I played 2 games against him in tournaments. The first one he won in a positional way, as his positional feeling was much better than mine. But in the second game, a few years later, I was in a real fighting spirit when I heard that I had to play him and I didn't want to lose again. When the game started and he was sitting in front of me, I remembered the weekends and what a strong fighter he was, and I said to myself, man, now pull yourself together or he will take you apart just like that. I thought that I might have some chances as I had studied his playing style in our weekend games, and I promised myself to show a real fighting spirit in this game. The same spirit he is going to show in every game he plays. I had the black pieces and we played a quiet Queen's Indian game. The position stayed even for a long time, but after a few hard hours I started to feel his relentless will to win. This bothered me somehow mentally. It was like an invisible wall between us, which seemed to be impossible to overcome. I just thought, if I gave up now mentally, then I will lose even if the position is still even. This had nothing to do with the chess at all, it was just a matter of willpower. I understood now why Kazoo had to take pills for his heart. It must have cost him a lot of energy to keep up this intense willpower for a few hours. Up to this moment, he had not taken any pills. I was happy about that. If he would have done that, I probably would have lost, because the theoretical possibilities that he could suffer a heart attack in my game would have completely paralyzed my mind. The game just went along quietly until I could penetrate with my queen into his position, but this was not enough to win against Kazoo. I knew that. After pondering my next move, I discovered by chance just one square that Kazoo had not protected at all. But this square seemed to be not important as it was in the corner of the board, the square A1. When I saw the square, my mind almost refused and rebelled to think about it and dismissed it as a pure nonsense and a waste of time to even look at it. How can I use this ridiculous unimportant corner square? I'm sure Kazoo had thought the same way before, or he would have protected it or would have made some other move. A1 was the only square that I could use. I forced myself to think about it. When I put my queen there, I attacked the important pawn at d4. I realized suddenly, it was like a lightning hitting my mind. Now I forced myself to look very deeply into the matter, and my brain came to the following philosophical, psychological, spiritual and fundamental conclusion. When I play my queen to a1, the pawn on d4 can be protected anymore. This means Kazoo's position will collapse and I should win. I couldn't believe it. Suddenly, I felt a lot of energy flooding through me. I almost exploded internally. I wanted to jump up and run around the table, but I controlled myself, grabbed the queen, and almost screwed her into the square at a1. I just wanted to make sure that she gets there and stays there. When the queen hit a1, it made a strange sound. I was afraid to have made a hole in the chessboard, but this was not possible. But I had this thought for a second. I said to myself, hey man, be careful and behave yourself, or they come to lock you up in their lunatic asylum. The very moment when my queen hit a1, there was a slight shock in Kazoo's face. I knew that he knew the game was lost for him now. We played on a few moves, then Kazoo resigned. I never have felt so much energy making a move like queen to a1. This was something special. My dear chess friends, don't forget the square a1, it could be very victory. Now, can you suggest who was actually a Kazoo? Write your comments down below. Don't forget to press subscribe button and see you soon. Bye.